Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Jen Games. My name's Jen, and this is my very first video. Well, that's not true. There is another old video on the channel that I threw up there a couple years ago, but we are starting a new series featuring Planet Zoo, and I thought it would be fun to go in to the game with a fresh start, even though I've played it for quite some time, and start a brand new franchise. So that's, I guess, what we're going to do today. If you've never played Planet Zoo, I highly recommend it. It's a simulation game that has some of the best graphics and gameplay content that is out there. Like, I love Sims. I play World of Warcraft. I play Hogwarts, which is side note, another series I'm actually thinking of starting. But this game has everything: building, management, everything. It's a lot of fun. So I thought we would start with a franchise, a brand new one, and I'm gonna call it Gen Games because that's my channel. So right off the bat, we get 100 conservation credits. Our goal in this game is to gain conservation credits that we can use to purchase new animals, and we also want to make money. So, oh, I kind of like this. A lot of times you have to change the banner and your badge, but I kind of like this. Although I would prefer the lion, I think. Well, we'll leave it that for now. So we are going to create a new zoo. Our first zoo is going to be, we have all these options for biomes. We can do desert, which is hot and dry. We can do grassland. We can do tropical, temperate, taiga, and tundra. I decided we would start with temperate in North America and feature animals from, I'm not gonna stick to only North American animals that are necessarily comfortable in a temperate climate, but that's going to be the primary focus. I can build habitats and enclosures that support animals from, the Arctic or whatever, but I think it would be fun to just start in this area because it is a little easier. And I thought, down the road maybe we'll have more zoos. When we finish this zoo, we'll build some new zoos. So for difficulty, I'm going to put it on easy to start, but I want to change that as we get going. I think because we're starting fresh, we have no conservation credits and no money. We want to make it as easy as possible. We want to set ourselves up for success, if you will. And so on easy difficulty, we'll have animal welfare that's more easily maintained. It takes longer for our animals to get stressed. Animals take longer to die when their needs are critical. Animals never get bored of enrichment items. Guests learn more from education sources. Guest happiness drops at a slower rate. Guests won't request refunds. That's helpful, especially if an animal gets out. 5-star guest happiness rating requires an average happiness of 80%. Staff take longer to get tired. Staff can move faster, and staff get a larger happiness boost from training. So we're going to start there with flat terrain type because you have all these options, but I don't want to be terraforming right now. Terraforming and I don't get along really well. I'm not super good at it, so we're gonna make it as easy as possible. I'm gonna call the zoo Animal Planet for now, but if you have any suggestions for a zoo name, leave it in the comments because I can change it at any time. And if anybody has something super creative, or there seems to be one in particular that a lot of people seem to like, then we can always change it. So let's create our zoo. Here we go. All right, everybody, we are in the game. So I'm going to start off by pausing the game because I don't want the lighting to change necessarily, but I want to be able to give you a look around and kind of explain a few things before we get started. So first of all, you see what I'm talking about when I talk about the imagery? It's really beautiful. We have a lake over here or some kind of body of water. We have the outline of our zoo borders. So you can make a pretty big zoo here. This is really pretty. Actually, this reminds me of a lot of where I live in real life. Because I am in North America, northeastern. We have hills like this. We have bodies of water. It reminds me a lot of where I live. It's so pretty. Okay. First thing I want to do is build my initial path. So this is our zoo entrance. Actually, before I do that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the items here on the user interface. We have our help, which is where we can get help, obviously, for whatever game, habitats, zoo, play, whatever. We have our Zoopedia. We're going to be using this quite a bit. This is where we learn about our animals and what kind of habitat they want, a little bit about their species. We'll dive into that more when we're ready to get our first animal. We have our notification timeline. All notifications are going to show up here. And for us right now, we founded our new zoo. And then we have challenges. So we have our basic zoo challenges. So our first challenge is to have at least 300 guests in the zoo, and we'll get $1,000 for that. There is a community challenge, the Serengeti Western. You have to release 4-star grassland animals, and since we don't have any, we're not going to be participating, but we will participate in challenges as time goes on. We have some staff alerts here, and this is just letting us know we need some basic buildings. But before we get into that, I like to start by creating my main path. Down here we have all of our tools and our basic zoo information, or zoo overview, which includes our finances, animals, staff. We'll be looking at all this as time goes on. I don't want to get too much into it now because me talking about it is not as much fun as actually playing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I like to delete this part of the path. It just makes it easier to run the big path that I plan to run. And I'm going to start by, what I want to do is loop these paths together if it'll let me. I may have to delete this one that I just did. Okay. There. So I have a little loop here. And now I'm going to create a big path that I'm going to start out here. Since this is our main entrance, I want to kind of have a large path that the guests come in on, so that there's no traffic jams, or as few traffic jams as possible. Oh, see, that didn't land quite right. So kind of got to zoom out and eyeball it a little bit. All right, let's see. This should work. There we go. That's a little better. It's not perfect. I'm actually going to try to make it perfect because that's who I am as a person. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to go with that. And it's going to be kind of covered by some of the scenery and nature, trees, etc. So I'm going to create just a straight line here. And then I'm going to see, do I want to do it that way? No, I don't want to do it that way. I think I'm gonna have one here. Okay, kind of making a plus sign. Our zoo is gonna go off into these different sides here, this way and this way. But I just kind of want to have a blinding you. I just kind of want to have a main entryway here. So the first thing I want to do is something really cool with this game is you can plant some of your buildings underground. I like to put facilities underground, and the reason being is because, or staff facilities rather. The reason being is because these decrease your guest happiness rating. They don't want to see them. You can decorate them up and make it a little easier, but rather than do that, I like to put them underground in the beginning. It makes it easier. you can't see them, and I can put a lot of, scenery items, and you don't want to see a bunch of staff buildings right when you walk in. So the first building we need is a quarantine. You have to have a quarantine. It's a place you put your animals when you adopt them so that they can be checked for disease and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm just going to plant that underground a little ways here. And then if we go, let's see, underground. Now we can see our building is here underground. Now, I know this view is kind of weird, but just stay with me because you'll see what I'm trying to do. We can get a small staff room for now, so we're going to put that down here. The staff room is where your staff is going to take their breaks. They do some training there. We'll get more into that also. We need a workshop so that mechanics can have a place to go and do research. We need I'll do my keeper hut in a minute. We definitely need a vet surgery center. I'm actually going to put it here. There. Start putting some facing the other way there like that. We need a research center. And we need a trade center. This is where all your animals go when you purchase them. So now we have all of our main buildings underground here. We're going to connect these paths so that they have a place to walk. And this is where it gets really kind of interesting. So let's see. Can we connect all of these together? I hope so. Let's delete all this. Perfect. And we will align the path to the grid because I think that's going to work better for us. And then from there, we can just run a path. Oh, okay. Part of our problem is our path is too big. There, that'll work. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as all of our paths are connected. So now I want to take this up. So I'm going to do, I think we're going to have to turn on tunneling. There we go. It's funny when I do this, I laugh because I don't like necessarily how it looks all the time, or most of the time. Let's turn off tunneling because we don't need it anymore. I guess we still need it a little bit. Okay, now we definitely don't need it. Let's see, we've made it to the ground level now. Okay, cool. Let me actually delete that. I don't like the way that looks. So we're gonna run our staff path off of the main path here. There, good enough. Okay. So this is how our staff can access their working area down here. I could probably finesse this a little better, but for now, that'll do. Over here, I want to put like a half moon shape. I'm gonna install like some facilities for our guests. So maybe some toilets, some food. I'm gonna make the path a little bit smaller, and I think I want to start it here. That's good. So I can put in you know, some basic facilities for our guests so that when they walk in, they have, you know, the bathroom. That's always helpful. And since we are starting out with a smaller amount of money, I want to make sure we can get at least one animal in to start, because otherwise what's the point of opening our zoo? So let's start with some of these basic guest facilities. First, put in a toilet block. And I'm going to actually put 2 right there. And then let's put in some food machines. So because we're just starting out, we actually don't have access to all of the options available. Right now, the only thing we have access to is Gulpy. We actually need to do more research so that we can get more options, I guess. And I'm going to show you how we do that just a second here. So for now, we're just going to put down 2 Gulpy vending machines and then 2 Chief Beef vending machines. So in order to do anything, we need some staff. To get staff, we actually have to hire people. We are going to need a caretaker. Our caretaker, I'm actually going to get 2. Our caretakers are going to make sure the grounds are clean. They're going to empty the trash. They're going to do things like that, like anything that involves taking care of all of the grounds. We'll need a keeper when we have an animal. For now, I'm not going to worry about it. But we're going to need a couple of mechanics. The mechanics are going to maintain our machines, and they're also going to do our research for us, which we are going to start pretty immediately. I'm not going to worry about security just yet, or a vet, or an educator. We'll talk more about them later. But let me push play and get these guys going, because I want to start our mechanics on some research. So to do that, we go over here to mechanic research, and our mechanics are going to have to, they're going to have to research everything because we are starting over. So fun fact, I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning, but I've played this game for a long time. I actually had a full-blown zoo I had made like $3 million. All of this was researched. We're starting literally from scratch. So I'm going to start with a mechanic on drink shops and a mechanic on power, because those are the 2 things I need pretty quickly. And then we can start researching some of these other themes. So as we research, Gulpy slush is what's going to be researched, including 7 items associated with that. And then all these other places will be researched as time goes on. I think because of this, I'm actually going to hire 1 more mechanic, because I want one that's going to run around and just kind of maintain our buildings and stuff. Our buildings and our drink stands and whatnot. I think also I'm going to go ahead and create a work zone. And a work zone is going to allow me to contain everything into a certain area and assign staff to that particular zone. So in this case, I have work zone 1. I think I'm going to call it main entrance. And and this way, you know, we can have everybody kind of organized. I like to be organized. I'm also noticing that it looks like our mechanics are having to queue. I think you can only have one person at a time in the facility. The other one's going to wait outside. Yeah, so let's put in another mechanic building for now, because we really want to be able to get as much researched right off the bat as possible. So let's put that as, you know, it's only $1,000. Let me edit this group. I can add another facility there, another workshop. Boom. Okay, and we just need to connect the path. I'm going to use a staff path. With a staff path, only staff can access it. Customers, guests can't access it. So there. So now he should. Yep, there he goes. He's going to walk over there, and he can use this one to do his research. So he can research 2 things at a time, which also means I have to update my work zone because I added a. Oh, did my work zone not save? Guess not. Alright, let's do that. Edit this. Main entrance. Okay, there it is. Yeah, good. And it has all these facilities in it. Alright, perfect. Yeah, there it is. I wonder what happened. I mean, you all saw me create it, right? It was there. That's weird. We can also change our staff uniform, but I'm going to leave it as is for now. That's fun. Another thing we can do is assign our staff to the work zone in which they're working. So like if we want everybody in the main entrance, we can assign all these people to the main entrance. I'm not going to do that. Well, that's not true. You know what? I'm going to assign my caretakers to the main entrance. But the mechanics, I kind of like them to be free to roam wherever they need to go. So if I don't select a work zone, I think they're able to go wherever. Let me pause again because we're... Well, actually, you know what? If I pause, are we actually losing money? I think we are. See, I'm thinking if I pause, they can't research, but I'm also not losing money. What are we losing money on here? Wages and facility running costs. All right, well, let's just stay paused for the moment while I get things set up. How about that? All right. So we have the basics. This is uneven. This is uneven. And it's going to bother me. I like that better. It's still uneven, but it's, well. Let's see. Exit. Ah, here we go. This is our advanced move tool where we can make like minor adjustments that make it a little more user-friendly. See, that's a little better. They're a little more even, not perfect, but we can hide that with some scenery. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. And I think we need to start thinking about our first animal. This path also, by the way, we can move that at some point, but for now, we're going to leave it here so they can access everything pretty easily. So for our first animal, I thought we would look at what would work. I don't want anything too, like, I don't want to go in with like a lion because I don't think I can afford a lion, first of all. And second of all, I want to go in with something kind of small and easy to maintain. Our first animal is going to be the alpine goat. Fun fact, we actually have a goat on our property. Her name is Josie, and she's a silky, so she has a long beard and she has long hair. She doesn't have the horns, but she's so sweet, and I love her. So I thought it would be a nice ode to Josie to make our first animal be a goat. So let's learn a little bit about the alpine goat, or Capra hircus. They're domesticated. This shows you, if they're vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, or extinct. They're domesticated, so they can. Technically, I could put this in my farm section, but I thought it would be a nice little entryway animal because, I believe they're good with people. Like you could technically have people walk through their habitat, and I may do that. I haven't decided how I'm going to build the habitat yet. But the Alpine goat is a breed of domestic goat originating in the French Alps, found in France, Italy, and Switzerland. Now, even though we have a North American continent, I said in the beginning I would still bring in animals from different regions if they could exist in the biome that we are currently in. So I'm not sticking strictly to North American animals, but here we are. Um, Alpine goats were developed as a dairy breed with a high yield of milk per animal and are adapted to the climatic conditions of their montane pastures. Montane. Does that mean mountainous? I should look it up. They have a stocky body with long, thin limbs and neck. The short coat may be a solid brown, black, white, or gray with black or white markings, or a pattern combination of all base colors. The head is small with long, straight ears and slightly curved horns. Both bucks and does may have curved horns and a beard below the chin. See, my doe has a beard below the chin. Though ornamentations tend to be larger in males. Alpine goats are 2.5 feet to 3.1 feet tall at the shoulder. Males are taller and heavier than females, weighing 170 pounds to 220 pounds, while females weigh between 134 pounds and 154 pounds. Humans domesticated goats around 10,000 years ago, making them one of the earliest animals kept as livestock for meat, milk, clothing, and tools. The most likely ancestor of all domesticated goats today is thought to be the Bezoar ibex, a subspecies of the wild goat from the Caucasus Mountains in Asia. Alpine goats are a common domesticated breed used for dairy production and crossbreeding and have no conservation needs. So their habitat, this will show us kind of their what kind of habitat they need, their requirements. I don't know how many we can have yet, so I can't change these options to determine any of this information just yet. We know the temperature needs to be between 19 degrees and 109 degrees, which actually in a temperate climate, they fit right in. They're Europe, now distributed worldwide. We have seen them here in the United States. They do exist. Their group size, this is what I wanted to know. Excluding juveniles, 2 to 30. So we can have 1 male and up to 29 females, which means we might want to go ahead and buy a few goats and get them into quarantine before we start building our habitat. Males fight for the right to mate. Female hierarchy is based on age. They're polygynous. They're matrilineal. Mature males related to alpha become outsiders. So we'll have to move the males out, it looks like. They're confident, so guests can interact with them. And that's what I was wondering, if we would be able to build like a walkthrough habitat. So I'm thinking for this first video, if we make it about like building the beginnings of our zoo, we'll get our animal. And then the next video will be a kind of sped up version of building the actual habitat. That way, we're not spending too much time on one thing. This video could take forever because it takes me a while to build habitats. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do. They get to be 2.9 feet tall at shoulder, 2.7 feet tall at shoulder if you're a female, or if they're a female. Life expectancy, the male and females can live to be 18 years old. Weight, 196 pounds for males, 145 pounds for females. So let's see, they'll be 1.5 years old for age of sexual maturity, and they will become sterile around 12 years old. They will have between 1 and 3 offspring per mating event, and their gestation period is 5 months with a 7-month interbirth period, and it's easy to reproduce them in captivity. So social needs, they're curious and gregarious. They live in herds, which makes me think about Josie. We actually rescued her, and so she's a single goat all by herself. So I am on the hunt for some friends for her, but I want to rescue them. So you can definitely tell she's looking for for buddies. And so I knew this about goats, and now that I'm seeing that they like to be in groups of up to 30, I might have bit off more than I could chew, but I digress. Um, Males with access to females may fight during the rut, but can be kept in bachelor herds. Goats can develop bonds between individuals and even towards humans. Definitely true. Josie and I have a very strong bond, and she's just the sweetest. Breeding season for alpine goats usually lasts from autumn to early spring. Other goat breeds from warmer climates may breed any time of the year. I mean, I won't read through all of this. It is interesting, so if you have the game, I highly recommend reading all of these things, but I want to touch on highlight points rather than read the entire reproductive, backstory. We haven't obviously researched anything. They do like hay, and some compatible species are the Highland cattle and the Radnor sheep, the hill Radnor sheep. That we'll keep in mind if we decide to move them to a different habitat down the road. But yeah, we will start with the alpine goat. So to do that, we're going to go into our animal marketplace, search for the alpine goat, and see what's out there. All females, and this can happen sometimes. And see, these here, these high quality ones are marked with a gold ribbon, and you can see their genetics and breeding is really high quality. If I had the conservation credits, I would totally go in and get one of these females, but we may have some decent options that we can purchase. She's a little on the old side and the small side. This is Elodie, Fleur, and Capucine. I think that we will adopt Capucine and Elodie because they're the best. And then we'll keep our eyes peeled for a male, a decent quality male. I'm refreshing the list just to see if anything comes available. So look, we have a bunch of, well, see, they're all requiring conservation credits, of which we have none. So we'll wait and see if we can find a male goat that we can purchase. Now that we have them, they'll be in our animal storage. So we'll reset the filter. There they are. We'll select both of them and send them to the zoo. And we'll put them right into our quarantine building. So all we have to do is just highlight it, and they will be delivered to quarantine. And when we push play, everything will begin to occur. The animals will be moved into their quarantine and be looked over by a vet. Speaking of vet, we don't have one. So I'm actually going to hire 2 veterinarians, one to tend to the animals and one to do research. Because now that we have an animal, we want to research the animal that we just adopted. We also want to start researching some of these diseases so that we're prepared for them. Because animals can get diseases like the avian influenza, bordetellosis. So actually I'm going to hire a 3rd vet, one that can research some of these diseases. Okay, so let's go in and begin by, well, we don't have our animal in its enclosure, so we can't start researching yet, but we can start researching diseases. I think it would be smart. I think in the Zoopedia, it tells you what diseases a particular animal can get. Maybe not. Maybe I made that up. Yeah. All right. So we'll have to think about that. I'll have to look into that. See if we can, or maybe we'll see if one of them gets a disease, and then we may have to research it. That's not ideal, but that may be what we have to do. So when we look at the habitat, now we know we can have up to 30. Let's just pretend we have 30. and see how large our habitat needs to be. Let's just do 20 with 10 juveniles. 20 with 10 juveniles. We want a habitat that's going to be 10,656 feet squared. We don't need climbing, we don't need water or deep water, and we need a grade 2 boundary, greater than 4.1 feet. So keeping that in mind, the next video is going to be the building of their habitat. And so I think that's where we will end this video. We did a lot today. We did a lot. We got a lot accomplished, even though it doesn't feel like it, because all we have are 2 bathrooms and 4 vending machines and 2 animals that have passed quarantine and need a place to live. So next time we will have a habitat to put these animals in. Not next time we speak, but next time we meet for active gameplay, as I'll call it. So thank you so much for joining me on this very first video featuring Planet Zoo. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see or anything you'd like to add, and like and subscribe if this is something that you're interested in. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!